Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where we honor our nation's veterans by preserving and sharing their stories. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m. To learn more about our mission, watch veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. We're talking with Harold Pope, who served in the United States Army. So, good afternoon, Harold.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for coming here and meeting with me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, we'll start out with, I think, an easy question. When and where were you born?
So I was born in Mississippi, a small town called Shabuta, back in 1960, June 9th, 1960.
Okay, and did you grow up in Mississippi then?
I did not.
All right.
We moved, shortly after my birth, we moved to Albany, New York.
Oh.
Part of Great Migration, where a lot of African Americans moved from the southern cities up to northern cities.
Okay. Did you have a lot of brothers and sisters, or were you an only child?
Sister.
Okay.
Yes. Grew up with a sister, and in a single parent household with my mom.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your mom.
Oh, so my mom, her name is Ann Pope, and she is a legend in Albany. She's about to turn 88, and I was recently caring for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so just sent her back home to my sister, and it's timely. My mom worked on the railroad, worked for the railroad, and also was the president of the NAACP in Albany for over 20 years, and then served another 20 plus years in a state conference. So she is a huge figure in the advocacy world in Albany, and is dearly beloved. Talked about the Great Migration. There's a New York State museum has a exhibition or exhibit, and in that exhibit they have what they call the hats of the Great Migration.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my mother's hats is in that exhibition. And so she got home in time for the premiere event of it. She's just over the moon.
Just thrilled, huh?
Yeah, just thrilled.
At 88.
88. 87,
Wow.
about to be 88. She deserves it. She is, she's a rock star. I was home, and so when I go home, I help my sister with some of the responsibilities with caring for my mom, and so I'll take her to the bank, and tellers will skip the line and call her over. Motor vehicle, she got into a situation where the dealership they screwed her, made her buy the car out of her lease, and so out of frustration, I bought the car myself. So, but took her to the motor vehicle to exchange the paperwork, and these two young ladies, you can see them talking, and excuse me, sir, can you come here? And so I was leaving my mom in line. And they said, no, bring her too. And they said, we'll take care of you. So both of them helped my mom. And they laughed and said, yeah, can't wait to go home to tell their mother, their parents, that they waited on my mom.
She is a rock star.
Oh, she is.
Oh, my gosh.
She absolutely is. She knows everybody, or everybody knows her. She's got early dementia. And so a lot of things she can't remember. Short-term memory is horrible. But her long-term memory is mostly intact.
Okay.
And so she's got stories. So when she first came to stay with me, a reporter called and said, hey, I'd like to interview your mom. And so I'm with my mom. I said, hey, Mom, these people are calling. They want to do an interview with you. She said, interview me? What do they want to talk about? So, Mom, I guess you find that out when they go to interview you. She said, can we tell them to call me back next week? I said, sure. But that's what we did with him last week.
Right.
This is you. This is, if you don't want it, no. All right, I talked to him, and she's talking to him, and she's bubbly and she's talking about, these cases that she worked on and how she got somebody out of trouble, or how she challenged city council, how she challenged the mayor, how she even challenged the governor of New York. And so she's got these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, later that night or the next day, she said, "No, was I in Mississippi the other day? Did we?" I said, "No, Mom, but you talked about Mississippi." She said, "Well, did we do this?" No, but you talked to somebody. So when she brings those memories up,
Mm-hmm.
she actually, in some ways, relives it and feels it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my grandsons, we surprised her in New York one time. I said, "Oh my God, you guys are here to see me." Da, 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 da. And then an hour later, she said, "Oh, when did you get here?" And so my grandsons, they were looking at each other and said, "Listen, in so many ways, it's a beautiful thing."
Right.
Because it's exciting for her every time she realizes that you're here. And so when you hear her repeat herself, she's enjoying the time with you.
Mm-hmm.
And just to hear her to ask you, when did you get here 10 times in the same day, that means she's reliving that 10 times. So
she gets that excitement over and over again from her.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at that.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as a normally functioning person, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Right. And so they have great respect for their great grandmother. I don't think they would be annoyed, but I wanted them to understand.
Right.
Because that could be me in some years. Right. And so this is their opportunity to realize early, what aging looks like.
Give them a great example.
Yeah.
So as we talk about memories, what was it like growing up then in Albany with your mom and your sister, and how was your childhood? Let's talk a little bit about that.
So remember, I think I said I grew up in the 60s and 70s, right?
Right.
Well, the 60s and 70s, what it was like stay outside, right?
Yes, it was.
Stay outside. Before you come home, you get back in this house before the street light comes out. And that's real conversation, right?
Uh-huh.
And so what it was like for me, I was looking at my notes. It was me getting involved in various programs that were, designed to give us activities. And one of them, I laughed, was called the Young Marines.
Oh.
It didn't last long. But there was an organization called the Young Marines. And so, because this is, again, back in the 60s and 70s, it's a time when cops and robbers, we played cops and robbers.
Right.
Cowboys and Indians. We had all kind of toy guns.
Mm-hmm.
And and superheroes. I remember being Captain America. I remember taking a actual trash can lid, the old galvanized trash can.
Yeah.
I remember taking one of those lids, and I got that as my shield, and I'm running through the neighborhood acting like I'm Captain America. I love Captain America. And so what it was like was always being outside, always being active. Coming home, being around my mom and the things she did, I was always witnessing her in organizing meetings, her in meetings to talk about protesting and fighting for causes that enriched our neighborhood. Again, framing it 60s and 70s, New York, very well known that, police were closing their case by pinning it on innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank God that it was never me. I'm very thankful it was never me, because I look at, people are saying they were in a room, interrogation room, and they eventually confessed. And I'm like, how do you do that? But again, that's me on the outside,
Right.
not being in that box. And so again, I'm just thankful that it was never me. I had, my mom is so strong that if they knew me and my mom, I would never be bothered.
Mm-hmm.
When people didn't know me, weird things happened. So I had the police walk up to me. We lived in the projects. We called them the projects. They're high rises, and this is what they call a breezeway. So there's a cutout at the bottom, right? So where it's open, and the breeze comes through there. And so it was one night where me and my friends were playing basketball. We came back home, and we're walking through the tunnel, the breezeway, bouncing the ball. Well, we didn't realize there was law enforcement in the area, and so the police there, and they yelled at us to stop bouncing the ball. And I don't know if it was a random, somebody forgot, or it was still in the process of bouncing, or somebody was just being defiant. I can't remember, but I do remember the police reaction is it came over to us aggressively, drew their weapons, and then threw us in the squad car and took us to the police station. And we get to the police station, and so they were doing this whole community policing thing. It's a new idea, concept to put the police in the neighborhood, and
Kinder, gentler policing, right?
Yeah, because they know everybody right now. And NPU, Neighborhood Police Unit, never forget. So I go in there, and the desk sergeant, lieutenant, whatever it was, he looks at the officer who's bringing us in, and as we get in the door, he yells at him, "What are you doing?" "Oh, these kids, they were doing this, and they were disturbing whatever, something that he made up." And the lieutenant or whatever, he just starts berating him. "You dumbass, idiot, son of a bitch, what are you doing, blah, blah." And he says, "You see this painting on the wall here, this little picture of a NPU and the kids in the neighborhood? He did that. He drew that. And now you're going to drag him in here for what? Take these kids, back home and then come back and report to me, right? Something to that effect." And I know we said we're not getting back in the car. We'll walk home. It's in the neighborhood. It's 2 blocks. We're good.
Right.
We're good.
Right.
Because the NPU, they had a contest or it was a class assignment, and we all drew something about it. And then of course my mom, she rails, here it is again, over policing, doing things for no reason, no consideration, no thought. So yeah.
Well, I want to ask a question about that too. So, to me, it's like this. I don't know, what's the word? Dichotomy, right? So you have this one guy who is, overly aggressive. "I'm going to arrest you for bouncing a basketball." You get to the police station, and you have this other guy that's like, "What are you doing, you idiot?" Like, it wasn't bad cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
It was good cop, bad cop. But if you hadn't drawn that picture, would that desk sergeant have had that same reaction?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things about that are bizarre, because I don't remember exactly, because I know that I was not an obstinate child.
Yeah.
Like that. My fear, this is the truth, my fear was my mother would find out about anything I did wrong. And that's worse than what the police or anybody else are going to do to me. So, yeah, public facing, you're not going to see me do something that's going to get me in trouble, that's going to get back to my mom. It's not going to happen.
Right. And that's not necessarily a function of your mom. Everybody knows your mom. That's a function of your mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of kids out there that do not have famous moms who live under that same, "I would rather go to jail than have my mom find out about this."
Yeah. No, that's real talk right there.
Yeah. So what was school like for you?
So I was, I said I wasn't that obstinate kid, but you wouldn't see me as obstinate, right? You would see me as my mother's child. But I was like every other kid. If nobody's looking, I'm doing something, right? And so there was a time in my life where I ended up hanging with a wrong group of kids. And we skipped school, and we did all these things. And so I get in trouble getting caught, and then I get home and get trouble. The kids I was hanging with might get in trouble with them because we see other kids doing the same thing, and the typical thing was the fight. So we had fights, and things of that nature. And so I felt myself going down a bad path, and probably because I heard my mom saying it too, and so it sticks with me. So I was a good student, went through a period where I was not a good student, where school was not, my mind was someplace other than school.
Yeah.
And, but I remember all the trouble I was getting into and coming home and face my mom. And so I asked my mom, could I go to a different school? My cousin, was a year younger than me, she was going to a Catholic school. And so I got into the Catholic school. And that's where I fell in love with school.
So I just want to make sure I understand this. Like, most of the time, the parents see that the kid is in trouble and make them go to a Catholic school. You were like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. I should probably go to a Catholic school.
Yes.
That's a pretty big self-awareness for a young guy.
Yeah. Well, it was also those whippings I was getting coming home.
So, yeah, I guess after a while that gets old, doesn't it?
It gets old. You know, it's like, I can't beat my mom, right?
Right.
No matter how much I can fight, and I fought a lot, I can't fight my mom. And also, I'm sure a lot of other things were factored in. My cousin, she, grew into be my best friend. And so went to the Catholic school, Father Young, all the nuns. I loved it. I loved it. In fact, my oldest son met Father Young years later. My mom was receiving an award. We live in Philadelphia. We went home, and we were waiting for my mom to come out. And while I was waiting, it was with my oldest son, I saw Father Young, and I went up to him and hadn't seen him in years, decades. And we start talking, and he looks, he says, "Is this your son?" I said, "Yeah." And he puts his arm around my son. Typical Father Young. He puts his arm around my son, and he starts walking with my son. "Let me tell you about your father."
Oh, no.
He says, "Your father loved school." He said, "We used to have to kick him out. We used to have to kick him out of school. He wouldn't leave school without getting his homework done. So his homework was done the day he got the homework. Then he stayed around, and whatever was needed, that's back with the erasers. With
the chalkboard.
I cleaned the board. I cleaned the chalk, the erasers. I straightened out the chairs. I would talk with the nuns. I would ask questions about the subject. And he said, "Yeah, we set to kick your dad out of school." So then you fast forward. Now I'm getting ready to go to junior high. And it's like a view from Shawshank Redemption when you're overlooking the prison yard. You're like, I don't want to go back to Gin Pop. And so I think it was Skylar, who's a junior. I can't remember for sure, but I didn't want to go to the junior high because I was going to go back in with all the people that I had distanced myself from.
Right.
And so I went to, I asked my mom, could she send me to the military academy, Christian Brothers Academy. And so I asked her, can I go there? And she said, I don't think so. We can't afford it. And I clearly begged her enough to where she investigated it. And through the help of Father Young, the school accepted me under scholarship. So all my mom had to pay for was my uniform.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah.
That's something. What was it that, what was it, I know you kind of got away from that crowd when you went to school, but what was it that made you had a change of heart?
Yeah.
Yeah. What, was there anything that you can point to, or was it just the overall experience?
I think it was the overall experience of always finding myself in a bad situation. So no matter what I did, because now that I'm hanging with these kids, the expectation is I'm with them, and if I'm not with them, then for them I'm against them.
Right.
So yeah, when I stepped out, I had to avoid coming across them because now they want to bully me. And you talk about bullying, and I just had a wherewithal. So I'll give you an example. I learned how to swim because hanging with my friends, we would skip school and go to the Turkish bathhouse. nastiest thing you could ever do. But anyway, went to the Turkish bathhouse. And so we're swimming in the Turkish bathhouse, and they like to horseplay. And so it's just a matter of whose turn it is that they want to pick on,
Right.
right? And so I'm tall. And the way the pools are built, you know, they drop. And so I would get in the pool, and when I realized they were getting ready to pick with me, I would walk my way out to the edge.
Yeah.
And so some of them, they were, you know, tall enough that they could come out there with me. So then I had to go further, and I learned, because of that, I learned how to tread water.
Uh-huh.
And so they couldn't get me. And so that you know, but yeah, Turkish bathhouse, whew, I got bad stories about that place.
Yeah, you look back and you wonder, what was I thinking? Oh,
yeah, clearly. I mean, I won't even tell you the one story that I can remember. But anyway,
yeah,
it was the environments I found myself in. I said, I don't like these. You know, it's probably my mom. She didn't seem the type, but probably my mom saying, you know, you keep down this path, it's just going to get worse. You know, and I'm listening to her and the stories that people get in trouble. And one of the things that the police would do is they would bring up, you know, some minor incident.
Right.
You know, he got caught because we would actually, by the Catholic school, there was a warehouse, and they provided refreshments for the theaters. And so, like at lunchtime, when everybody left, they left. You know, they didn't close the doors. The doors stayed open so trucks could back up and they could load it. Well, at lunchtime, there's nothing going on, and people were somewhere else eating lunch, and so we would run in and grab, you know, these big bags of candy and stuff, right? So if I got caught with that and they recorded it, and then later I was in a more serious incident, they would say, there you go, he's a trouble kid.
Yeah.
And so I remember hearing those stories about people in trouble and the things they were facing, how the cops were trying to equate something that happened 5 years ago or whatever to why they did something that they weren't even in the city for. So listening to things like that probably helped me say I don't want to find myself in that path. And so moving into the military environment, integrity is my go-to word, integrity, which has a huge meaning, right? And then later, actually in the military, attaching that word or the phrase above reproach. And that's how I live my life. You know, I won't take the easy way if the easy way is the wrong way. I'll take the easy way if it's the easy way and still gets it done correctly.
Right.
But if there's anything about the easy way that is inappropriate, I'm not going to do it. I don't want somebody to say, you know, you shouldn't have done that. I don't live my life like that.
Did you feel any pressure to not succeed from your peer group?
No.
Like, was there any jealousy or any retribution for you being successful and maybe some of them not being as successful as you?
So we lived in the projects.
Right.
I went to the military academy. So going to the Catholic school, that was nothing. I don't even think I wore. If I wore a uniform, it was something that was dull.
Oh, but now you got to wear a uniform to go to the. Okay.
Now I got to go. So I'll tell you. I guess I felt I was a smart enough kid where I knew when I first started going to that school, I couldn't let people see me in that uniform.
Right.
So they had the duffel bag. So my uniform was in my duffel bag. I caught the first bus. The crack of dawn, caught the first bus. Because we were on a system where you got a bus pass. I was on the first bus. Take that first bus downtown. And then I'd wait for the bus that went on my route. And of course, the bus and the driver, he'd be there 20 minutes early, sitting in there, eating his breakfast or whatever. I'd get on that bus, and I would change into my uniform. And I remember there was something that happened that I couldn't change. Maybe coming home. And I caught hell.
Oh, yeah.
You think you're better than everybody else. You going to that school, da-da-da-da. You ain't no better than anybody else. I had other people saying, hey, good for you. Good for you. But The one saying that, you're not better than anybody else, that was what you hear the most.
Right.
But because I had a mother like I had, I had the wherewithal to walk with my shoulders up, and, if you see me, I love to dress. It's because of the military academy.
Yeah.
I wore a tie. I could out-tie anybody with a tie. My uniform, my gig line couldn't be touched.
Yeah.
Throughout my military career either. So I went into service. We go to the basic, officer basic training. If it were a 9-week course, I was elected Super Trooper 7 of those weeks. So weekly, uniform check, and I learned to self-check.
Now, did you go into the military right out of high school?
College.
Right out of college. So, so where'd you go to college after?
University of Dayton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what'd you get your degree in?
Photography.
Oh.
So I'm going to
be critiqued on all of this.
So my desire was to be, because I'm watching Vietnam. My uncle is a Vietnam vet, Air Force, and he when he got out of the service, he brought his family and they lived with us. And spent a lot of time, with him and listened to his stories. Mm-hmm. So, and then he told me about the combat journalist.
Yeah.
And that's why I joined the service, to be a combat journalist.
Okay.
Which they disbanded.
So what year would this have been?
I went active duty in 82.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So did you enlist at first, or did you went right into the officer candidate program?
So graduated, and a couple hours after getting my diploma, I got my commission.
Okay.
Yeah. So my announcement was a tent card. So you open it up, and the bottom page was my diploma announcement, and the top page was my commissioning ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So now you're...
So I wanted to be a combat journalist, and with that no longer being on the table, or the numbers being so low, still went Signal Corps, which is communications. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a time when Signal Corps was still pretty busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're fresh new commissioned lieutenant. What was your first assignment?
Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, 25th Infantry Division.
It's funny. That's where my son was at when he was in the infantry.
Yeah.
He didn't see much of Hawaii because he got sent to Afghanistan, or he got sent to Iraq.
Yeah.
But he was there. So how was Hawaii for you?
Hawaii was beautiful. So you get there, bad sponsor, when they bring you in, they could put you up in a hotel for X amount of time, and this and that. My sponsor, he blew the pooch. Nothing about my arrival time changed. So my date was my date. And my first night, I ended up staying at his place with his girlfriend, his Korean girlfriend. And it's like, I'm on the couch. And of course, I don't know anything.
Right.
Now, it's out of North Shore, so there's a plus, but I didn't want to wake up on somebody's couch,
No.
And I don't do that. I'm going to a conference this weekend, and people tell me, hey, you want to share a room? Hell no. I'm not sharing a room. Sharing a room with my wife if I'm sharing with anybody. Other than that.
Yeah.
And he blew that. But anyway, I get to Hawaii, and it is just beautiful. The weather, every day is beautiful. And then another beautiful thing about Hawaii, team spirit, which is an exercise in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So we round out one of the infantry brigades. And then, of course, the Signal Corps, we would take a good amount of our resources to support the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so got to go to Team Spirit 4 times. And it was a great break from Hawaii. Now, of course, we get there in February. It's freezing cold.
Yeah.
The design is to be there at the thaw. which is when predictability that North Korea would attack. And so they would do the exercise so that forces were in place that if that were to occur, so it would stand as a deterrent, so it wouldn't occur. But if it occurred, we're already in place and prepared.
Right.
And,
Right.
so I was like, gee, that's fun, I think. And so we go through the exercises, but you learn, the military, it's all about training. And so we did some good training.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Now, how long were you in Hawaii?
3+ years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And was that the extent of your time in the service? Then,
No,
or
no,
you
no.
stayed in for?
So I stayed in for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Came back, went to the advanced course.
Uh-huh.
So I got my promotion. Actually, I pinned my captain bars on in Korea during my last Team Spirit. Came back, and then shortly after that, went to the Signal Corps, Officer Basic Training. Advanced training at Fort Gordon, and actually started a family there. So I fought for and received Fort Gordon as an assignment.
Okay.
As my follow-on assignment.
So you started your family there. So you got to tell me, how did you meet your wife?
So
What's that all about?
So I had one child while I was in college, and so coming back, I knew I was going to court to fight for custody of him. I met my wife in Hawaii.
Oh.
Yep, she's from Maryland. She was in Hawaii with friends, and we met there. Came back, and then shortly, so she came back when I came back. So I flew into San Francisco, and I drove, and she drove with me. And then after leaving her, getting ready to go to Fort Gordon, found out that she was pregnant. And so I'm an honorable person.
Yeah.
That's the way I was raised. And so started my family, got married in Georgia, started my family there.
Now, did you get custody of your?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Son or daughter?
Son.
Okay.
2 sons, and then now 2 grandsons.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How was it having 2 boys then? Were they?
As a soldier, with young kids, I lived on base.
Yeah.
I was living a dream. Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, I was every bit the model soldier at base. Everybody knew me. They knew me as a family man, respected. It was a good feeling.
And also it kind of gave your kids a different environment to grow up in as well, didn't it?
Yeah. They got to see quite a bit.
I'll bet.
And then as I left the service, we divorced.
Oh,
and
okay.
so I ended up being a single parent with my oldest son. So.
There's something, when you have a dad as a single parent, it's so that I for a while had my daughters, and there's something about that bond that you get with your child when you're the dad and you're the only parent in the house. It's different.
Yeah, and it's. I leave my phone in here.
Oh, your phone's right right behind you there.
So take note.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it is a special bond, and of course, so my son, he struggled through high school. My mom was busy telling me, "Oh, it's because you're busy dating." I said, "My dating has nothing to do with that boy's schoolwork." And I said, "I need a girlfriend in my life because I have no maternal instincts." And so, I mean, he went through school. He had Lyme disease, and then right after he cleared the Lyme disease, he had a staph infection. And it's like, oh, what's going on with this kid? I said, I don't know, but it ain't my fault. So,
right.
But going through school, he was well liked, but he wasn't doing his work. And the teachers weren't telling me. And so I find out, we spent a weekend working on this project, and a week later I'm talking to the teacher, yeah, he never turned it in. Why didn't you tell me? And we go and it's in his locker.
Right.
And I'm looking at him, why didn't you turn it in? Back when it was cool not to be smart, I guess. And so teachers loved him, so they wouldn't tell on him. And so then he finally graduated and laughed. People talking about he going to college, said, and high school kicked his ass. So I know college is he's not mentally ready for college.
Right.
He ended up going into the Army,
Uh-huh.
Signal Corps.
Oh,
Yeah, enlisted.
yeah.
So, and he did 10 years as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So what was the deciding factor? You're halfway through a military career at 10 years. What
Desert Storm, Desert Shield, going
all
to
the stuff
Kuwait,
going on?
fighting over oil.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be that pawn.
Yeah.
You know, I said, I've learned something. I've done 10 years, committed, always wanted to be in the military. I did 10 years, but at that 10-year mark, things happened and showed me the political side
Yeah.
of the manipulation of the military. So same thing we see today. We're fighting over oil,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're fighting over oil, and make it make sense.
It's almost like the last war that made sense was like World War II. Honestly,
Yeah,
I mean, that's how it feels sometimes.
yeah.
And that doesn't mean that the folks who served in all of those.
Yeah, we already know that. We're not talking about
it's
that.
not the people.
Right. We're not talking about that part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the political side of it. So, I mean, what'd you do after you got out of the Army then?
Went to work for Ford Motor Company.
Okay.
So I went in automotive, spent 32 years in the automotive industry, largely with Ford, but with other companies as well. But yeah, not a bad move.
Yeah.
In fact, it was almost like being in the Army. I got to move around. So I started with them in Philadelphia and then moved to Dearborn.
Mm-hmm.
A few years after I was in Dearborn, so let me see, I moved to Michigan in 99. In 2005, I was on an international assignment living in Shanghai.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you like that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I traveled throughout Asia. So I did an assignment in Korea while I was in active duty.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, all the trips over from Hawaii for Team Spirit. So it gave me a chance to go to Korea, non-military.
Right.
And I also used Korea as my number one spot for barber. So being in China, they don't cut hair like mine.
Right.
And so I found myself, I got lucky going to Singapore. Some guy just happened to wasn't afraid to cut hair, so he cut hair.
Yeah.
He had confidence. He did a good job. But then I would, I'll be traveling all over, and I'm taking my clippers and I'm just, clean sweeping my head.
Yeah.
But then I got fortunate enough to book a trip to Korea, and I said, I know where I'm going. I'm going down to Itaewon. They got a lot of barbers in Itaewon.
Let's take a quick break.
Before we continue, we'd like to share a resource that may be helpful to veterans and their families. The Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org is designed to connect veterans with support, resources, and a community that understands their experiences. If you or a veteran you know could benefit from those resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app and learn more at vetlifetoday.org. I honestly never knew that was a thing, but my daughter went to cosmetology school, and she cuts hair, and she's one of the very few people out there that know how to cut your hair.
Yeah.
And so she's built up this clientele of folks who come to her because not many people know how to cut African-American people's hair. I didn't know that. I didn't think about that.
So obviously African-American barbers can cut African-American.
Well, yeah.
But when you go to Shanghai, so I went to a place, it was like a Vidal Sassoon.
Uh-huh.
And my man, he's doing this, cutting my hair with the scissors and everything.
Mm-mm.
And I get back home, I'm like, what the hell? And I got my clippers and I just, do a zip line.
Right.
And no style, but it's manageable. And, but just hilarious. So yeah.
Is that really part of the whole barbershop culture? Like that's where everybody meets. That's where everything gets talked about. Like, if you want to know what's going on, you go to the barbershop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you think that's part of that?
Oh yeah, you have to go to a barbershop. You don't have to go to a bar.
Right.
So everybody talks about the bartenders, the therapists.
Uh-huh.
Oh, the barber is a therapist. The barber sees all ages,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to go to the barber,
Right.
right?
Yeah. He sees you on your best day and he sees you on your worst day.
Yeah,
And everything in between.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long were you in Shanghai then?
A year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you came back to Michigan. So was it Ford that brought you to Michigan then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Ford brought me to Michigan, and it was Ford. So Ford split, made Visteon,
Right.
and so, but it was still part of Ford. So I did 25 years in the Ford system,
Okay.
and but yeah, they took me over to Shanghai. So the components division is where I largely worked in Ford,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they took me over, and my job was to train all of the. They created an organization in Shanghai. My job was to train the supplier quality engineers how to work with the supply base,
Mm-hmm.
teach them all of our processes and guidelines. And so that would have been, on the surface, 6 people. But in reality, there already existed an organization in Asia that did that job. And they were based out of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those are the guys that I had worked with before I went over. So now I go over. So I've got the group that's based in Japan. So all of them except one was in Japan. The other one was in the Philippines. And so when I got there, I talked to our director and said, "Hey, they obviously have to work together, and that's not been solidified."
Right.
And so got permission to promote the guy in Japan that was leading the team, promoted him to regional director. And then I stayed in my role. I worked in the background for him to help him build his organization.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the same time, we were launching a project in Thailand, and so they needed help. So when I first got there, every 2 weeks I was in Thailand. So in Thailand, they also brought in a team member from India who was not a part of the whole Southeast Asia. So they wasn't a part of. And so now I'm sitting there and say, "Hey, this is bigger than I thought." And so I ended up going to India and meeting the team in India, and that's a huge team.
Mm-hmm.
There were 35 of them in India. And so at the end of my assignment, I had built a 50-member team who covered all of Asia. And it was a beautiful thing. It was a feather in my cap. And I learned a lot. I learned about the different cultures. And
Yeah, because that's a cross-cultural team. Like
Oh.
they don't all just get along,
no,
right?
they
You
don't.
really had to do some work to make that happen.
Oh, yeah. So just even the marriage of the Japanese leader over the Chinese.
Because there's some bad blood between the Japanese.
So the
and
Rape of
Chinese.
Nanjing. The Rape of Nanjing is a book, and it's about how the Japanese tried to completely wipe out leadership, the infrastructure of China.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time, China had 4 main regions, and let's just call them North, South, East, and West. And so the Japanese went in and they killed the men that were in leadership positions, and they took the women as concubines.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you fast forward, and I'm sitting over there, and the lead in China was a woman, and then the lead in Japan is a man, and now he's the director. And I'm sitting with them, and sometimes you don't see it, but then there are moments when you catch it. And it was at her performance review where I caught the big issue.
Yeah.
And but I mean, sitting with Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Filipino, Korean sitting and having conversation, talking about unions and talking about Tiananmen Square.
Uh-huh.
So, people don't realize we talk about censorship, but living in China, if you're on a generic network, if you Google Tiananmen Square, you will not find the massacre at Tiananmen Square.
Right.
It's blocked.
Yeah, their Google's completely different than our Google.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's filtered. You can't find it. You can't find government atrocities.
Right.
As a citizen. And so working over there as an international employee, we have a VPN. So I connect, so my cousin, my mom came over to visit and she noticed and I said, here. And so before I plug into the VPN, I tell her, look up something that's interesting. She looks up Tiananmen Square. Oh, they got flowers, they got this, they got that, they got no tanks.
Right.
And they got nobody being run over. I said, hold on. So then I connect to the VPN, virtual private network that connects you to a completely different area of a network. And the first thing that pops up is an image of the tank rolled over a Chinese citizen.
Right.
And she also, there was a story about French villas being made, and the government was talking about how it was making money for the farmers. The government was managing the sales and the promotions and this and that. And the citizens were making all this money. And then you see an interview with a citizen, and a citizen, very, very vocal. This, and obviously in Chinese was saying, this is not true. And you could see it get cut off.
Yeah.
And my cousin goes, hey, what happened to the feed? What happened? I said, oh, nothing. That's normal. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, take a look. And of course, it's international CNN.
Yeah.
And so it comes back around, and same thing, they got all these pretty images of these Rivieras being made, and these foreigners moving in, and the farmland before and now after, and the interview with the government official, and then all of a sudden they got a citizen, and they get cut off. And I said, it's censorship.
Mm-hmm.
That's straight censorship. It's something that we're not used to, but that is the way of life here.
Yeah. That
story will never get out. And it's funny. So she said, so they censor and they're bad at censoring? I said, yes. So, I mean, why would you let the first part of the, I don't know.
Yeah. You think they would have just cut it completely off?
But again, that's us thinking, right?
Right.
That's our Western mindset.
Right.
So the reality of it is they probably say, show a citizen being interviewed. Just don't show the interview of the citizen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what
so we talked to your neighbors.
Yeah.
You didn't get to hear what they said, but we talked to them.
Yeah. China was interesting, but I loved it. The food, I cooked a lot because the food was not what I'm used to. I remember going to this town called Ningbo.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'd be like going to Chicago and say, oh my God, I can get some seafood, right? So I get there and it's like, oh my God, hairy crab. They're known for their hairy crab, right? So I get a hairy crab, and there's they're about this big. So that's what got me first. Like, oh wow, this is the rave. This is all a rave?
Yeah. What's the big deal?
Yeah, and it's got hair on its claws. Okay, I get the name, and so I said, okay, I have some hairy crab, and it comes out freshly exposed, not killed.
So it's still moving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
What, I'm on an episode of Star Trek? No.
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to be cooked.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Chinese food in China is nothing like Chinese food that you buy here in America.
Exactly.
You order something off an American Chinese menu, they're going to look at you like they don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
But the restaurant was at, it was a Western style restaurant, but it had strong leanings to traditional Chinese. So when you read the menu, you can get fried rice, but you could also get live crab and stuff like that. And so I said, yeah, you're gonna have to cook this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I draw the line of eating something that's moving across my plate.
yeah. And then needless to say, I got food poisoning in Ningbo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than being out of the country, being sick.
Yeah. So, but I had a good team. The one young lady, the engineer that I was on a trip with, when they took me to the hospital, she stayed with me. And I remember in my mind, the person they took off the gurney they ended up putting me on had died.
Oh.
It's just my mind. I don't know if it's true. But when they brought the gurney, they were getting ready to put me on a gurney, and she snapped at them in Mandarin, and they hadn't removed the sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So they put new sheets on, and they put me on, and then the same thing when they gave me an IV. They give you an IV and they put you in the waiting room. So she was there, so make sure it's good. Those are fresh needles and this and that. So they put you in the hallway while you sit on your IV, and they've got hooks hanging off the ceiling to hang the bags.
Oh, like right in the hallway.
Yeah, right in the hallway. Novel, not bad. But when you look at the hooks and you see all the hooks are rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hospital.
So then when they gave me one bag, they wanted to give me two. I said, I'll go someplace else to get that second bag.
Uh-huh.
Because I was flying, I don't know if I was flying back that day or the next day, but so I flew back and then I went to a Western doctor. So here's the difference. The hospital they took me to, I think she paid $25, $35.
Mm-hmm.
Took me to a Western hospital. That was a $700, $800 bill. It's like, but it's okay because I got the care
Right.
that I expected.
There were no rusty hooks or dirty bed sheets.
No,
Those are important things to me.
those are important things to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
To some extent, you get what you pay for.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, what was it like coming back then to the States after being, in China for that period of time?
It was good. So I had a great boss at the time. So he, the company tells you when you're coming back, make sure you identify your landing spot. You're guaranteed a job, but you gotta find it.
Right.
And so I did some tremendous things. I think I did some tremendous work while I was over there. I formed that whole organization. We had an event that all the suppliers in the region came in, and we gave them a presentation of the company and our future and their responsibilities. We had them sign some agreements, and during that, a lot of people from a lot of the leadership from the U.S. came. So I got a lot of exposure like that.
Yeah.
My boss was new. So when he came over, that was his first trip. So he comes over, and the road show, my hand is all over it. My signature is all over it, and it's nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
It makes him look good. It makes our organization in Asia look good. And so he says, hey, I got a job for you when you get back. Don't look. But there's no need for you to look. I got a job for you. And he kept his word.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely kept his word. I really appreciated having him as a boss at that time because he said, I want you to know and feel comfortable about your returning to the U.S. And I did. So I returned in December. My promotion and assignment on the new job was effective in October.
Mm-hmm.
So my new pay started in October. I didn't get home until December.
Wow.
And so when I came home at a time that we were being audited. And so then it was like, you ready for this audit? I said, yeah, I'm just going to observe for a minute. Right? I mean, I just got this job yesterday. And matter of fact, I couldn't take vacation. I had to go straight to work.
Right.
And but I ended up taking over the audit. And so the old director, who had now been replaced by the new director, she pulled me aside. She said, hey, you really matured a lot while you were out of the country. You learned a lot. And it showed during the audit. So coming back was very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back now, I have a global presence in the organization.
Right.
So because when I was in Shanghai, I was the key focus for communication. when there was a program in Europe that was getting product out of China, I was the go-to person to talk to. The U.S. So I mean, the company paid for me to have there's a voice over IP phone at home, and so I had that phone, and that way I can join calls in the evening, in the morning from different countries, and not used cell phone. But then I had an international cell phone, and then I had a U.S. cell phone. So I was pretty well covered in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I was internationally known with that throughout the company, and I got high marks. And when you're working for somebody, and you got all that positive feedback, all that positive input, those positive exchanges, you do better.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
Absolutely.
you have more confidence. So you walk with more confidence, you deliver with more confidence. And so yeah, I did pretty good.
So I'm just curious, you're while you're growing up, you're watching your mom, like as a community organizer, doing a lot of these things. Do you think that those lessons that you learned from her, not even intentionally, but helped you as you were building these organizations and bringing people together? Can you see a parallel between your mom's community organization and what you were doing?
Absolutely. Do you think good leaders are born or raised? I think you have to be raised. You have to experience before you can deliver on key things. And some of us learn faster than others. And so you could be a good leader early, and some people don't learn. And so you may never be a good leader. And I think for me, watching my mom, it came out. So when I was in college, my senior year, I was a president of the Black Student Government. That was every bit my mom. All the organization, all the relationship, all of the drive. When I graduated my junior, senior year, I was well known in the community, the NAACP in the community. All those things were at my disposal. I had access to so many people. I got to meet and sit with people like Jesse Jackson, Dick Gregory, Julian Bond, Andrew Young. I had, direct interface with them. Tony Brown, you may not know from the Black Journalist. He was in my ear. He helped shape me in my desire to be a journalist, and got me. He got me on a path to go into. I think it was 1980. It was called Black College Day 80, where Black students marched down Washington to get funding for HBCUs. I was at the March on Washington that was led by Stevie Wonder and others, fighting for national holiday for King.
Yeah.
It was one of the coldest days of my life. And I remember marching down the street up to the plaza, had my camera in hand, I'm freezing, shaking, and I'm just taking in the sights and absorbing, the community on a larger level. People from everywhere.
So I think you partially answered my next question. That is, throughout your career in the civilian world, working for Ford Motor Company and Visteon, did you continue your community leadership as well?
I did.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
I did, and I can even relate it to being in the service specifically. Going over to Korea from Hawaii. So, what does a soldier do at night? Right?
Yeah.
You always, I'm an officer, so I didn't have the curfews, I didn't have the rotation and all that. Every night I could do what I could go somewhere, go off base, and so I went off base. I went to the Ville and sat in the bar and drank beer with everybody, some OB, some McJu with everybody, little soju, I watched people, they walked out of there sloppy drunk. And I am not a sloppy drunk person. I don't like that absence of control of myself, my surroundings. So I spent time with the tailor getting my mess dress uniforms made. Kids would come in, and I love kids. And so I spent time with the kids, so much so that I would end up volunteering at the orphanages. So I'm all the way over in Korea.
Right.
I got all this free time, and I spend my time helping kids with their playtime, straightening up their room, and it was exchange. So I taught them English. They practiced English on me, and they taught me Korean. The funny thing was, Korean has a age structure to the language as well.
Oh, so we're talking Korean like a kid.
I'm in a room and somebody said, "You sound like a kid." So Korean guy, you sound like a kid. And I go, "Oh," and they told me, "Well, that's because the language they're speaking is the dialect of a child."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "The good news is you understood what I was talking about." And that's the key part of communication, right?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it was natural. In college, I led one of the first marches on campus for Martin Luther King Day. Like I said, in the military in Hawaii, same thing, helping provide food to the locals, because they were on the Japanese were on a bubble. They bought up property, real estate, and businesses in Hawaii. The cost of living in Hawaii exploded,
Right.
forcing locals to live in camps. When my first weekend there, on the news, one of the most memorable, heartbreaking things I saw was the state troopers breaking a family up, living on a park.
Wow.
Living in those GP extra larges, huge tents. And they went, and the family interlocked arms, and they went between a Samoan and his son. So you got one of the biggest dudes in the world and a big little boy.
Yeah.
And the police broke him up right there. And it was horrible.
That's sad.
Yeah. And so right away, I'm looking, and I saw an image of, people giving out, care packages. And so on the weekends, I spent a couple hours helping put together and delivering care packages. All that is from my mom. The urgency to have a desire to be humble and to support those that are less fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's every bit my mom. All the programs that she worked on, watching her and listening to her and understanding that side of humanity is vital. If you don't have that side of humanity, think about all the people that would be lost.
Right.
You look at East Lansing and what they're trying to do with criminalizing homelessness. You got to stand up for that. You got to stand up and fight against that. I have a beautiful space to live in. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I realize that.
Right.
And everybody is equally as blessed.
It's easy to live in a bubble, though, and not realize that there are people who are less fortunate than you are.
Yeah. I've gone through that. I mean, I've traveled, and sometimes I had to collect myself.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first moved to Philadelphia, I was busy focusing on getting myself organized, going through a divorce, getting myself organized for being outside of the military.
Yeah, which is difficult.
That ain't easy.
Yeah.
That ain't easy. Then I go to a union shop, and coming from the military, right? So my team in the military, they would roll deep with me, and we could defend ourselves as a group. We would protect each other. But I get to a new environment, and there are differences.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily looked upon as being friendly. I can have some friendly exchanges, but I had to learn that didn't mean that was my friend or someone who was really befriending me.
Well, yeah, there was definitely a us and them attitude, right?
Yeah.
When it came to that.
Yeah.
You're not one of them.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough that again, people could see in me my spirit.
Yeah.
They saw me doing community service in the community, and so they were with me in those elements. But at the same time, there were some that were against me.
Yeah.
And so you catch somebody sleeping, and you I'm a fair person. Hey, you can't do that. You know, catch you again. Hey, you really, you know, but now it's a habit. And what I'm doing is not working with helping you adjust that habit.
Right.
Start out, my first job was skilled trades and janitors. And, you know, some of the team members didn't want to adhere. And so next thing you know, I'm writing them up. And I'm the bad guy. But I mean, you know, from being in the military, I recognize doing the job, sometimes you're going to be the bad guy.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, and part of it, too, is you didn't do that to them. They sort of did it to themselves,
Yeah.
right?
It was a choice that they made.
Right.
Right.
Right. People don't want to look at it that way, but that's kind of how it works.
And it ends up being a game. You know, we had a 10-point system. And so people stayed within 10 points.
Yeah. I'm going to hit 9.5, and then I'm going to slack off a little bit.
That's real talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try to stretch those just under 10 points out for a whole year. And then when they start over, it's like, behavior changes. Work tendencies change because the workforce is doing different things.
Well, you know that from working in quality, right? If you set the wrong set of metrics, people will meet those metrics, but not meet the intent.
That's right.
You know, the intent of the metric is to get whatever widget you're making to come out, you know, like it's supposed to. But I could meet all the metrics and still not hit the goal.
The big phrase in the military was everybody's going to take care of what the general's looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget one time when I was in the Navy, this full-bird captain came and he noticed that some piece of brass wasn't shiny, and he made some sort of comment about it. And for the next 2 months, we spent time chipping all the paint off all of the brass and then polishing all of the brass. And I mean, we never saw the guy again, right? But that's what he was looking at, so that's what we worked on.
Yeah, I remember an old story, fire plug story, where the general's taking a walk at the base, and he looks and he says, "Why is that fire plug there?" And so they do a mad scramble, you know, and to figure out why the fire plug was where it was, and they got a whole survey going, and they get together and realize that, you know, they're gonna move the fire plug and this and that, and then you fast forward, the general comes back another time, and he says, "What happened to the fire plug that was there?" And so they go in this whole thing about why they moved it based on his comment the first time. He said, "I just asked why it was there. I didn't ask anybody to move it. How much did you spend on that?" Yeah, he said, "Yeah, next time ask me before you take that." Of course, everybody was afraid to ask. You know, they're busy working on an answer. They didn't want to ask him without an answer.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I never said move it.
It's assumptions.
Yeah. I would never want to spend all that money just moving a fire plug.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, something very similar happened in the FBI, right? The FBI director was a stickler for grammar and proper formatting of memorandums and things like that. And so he had received a memorandum about something that was going on with organized crime. And, you know, he just made a little note on there, "Hey, watch the borders." He meant the border of the memorandum the guy was in. Well, the person didn't mean like watch the borders. So they sent all these people to the different borders for whatever reason to go watch the border. Yeah. So it always pays to ask to get clarification.
Clarification, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did want to talk a little bit about your time with the NAACP, only because I feel like that really ties in with your upbringing and what you learned from your mom. But, you know, let's talk about how you got involved with that.
So the NAACP has always been in the forefront of my life, obviously, because my mom.
Right.
So I've traveled from location to location. I've been a member of different areas. And then once I got here, you know, my mind was that Lansing was going to be a forever home at that point, right? And so I got active here, changed my annual membership to a life membership, and have steadily gone up to the highest level of life membership. So I'm subscribing to the top level right now. It was just natural. There was a parade going on. I'd gone to a couple of meetings, and then parade came on. So I went to the parade, participated in the parade, got my shirt, but also was part of committing to the overall activism. Started making meetings on a regular basis. Saw some things I liked, saw some things I didn't like. This is how I am. I'm not going to be somebody on a team complaining about why my team is failing. I'm a person who will step up and do the things that make a difference in the team's success or failure, which could include becoming a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I left for a little bit. I came back and re-engaged with the NAACP Lansing. And in my opinion, it was going so far away from his mission that it was unrecognizable. And for me, it was difficult for me to participate in meetings because of the things that were or were not being done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I inserted myself, kind of made myself a parliamentarian, managed the meetings in the hope that we would get more work done. And then I decided just to run for president. And so that's what got me to be president, because again, being a part of an organization, not liking the direction it was headed, the thing I needed to do to help, or I knew I could do to help, was to become the president and help modify some actions. And so now you'll see the NAACP more engaged in the community and vocal. In fact, the new president, I was proud of him yesterday. He was on the news speaking about the George Floyd memorial that was defaced. And I'm just happy because, before I was president, that was a rare thing, where now it's common.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that advocacy. Don't know if you're familiar with the two young men that were pepper sprayed in East Lansing.
Yes. Yep.
Heavily engaged in that, where they were wronged. The police chief made a statement publicly that they were criminals, released their names, which was also inappropriate, and never showed the video from the store that showed that there was no fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so you said what you said, but now that we had that video that you chose not to release when you made your statement, you had it. You had the same visual evidence that we had that showed there was no fight. And so we pushed and asked for her to resign because she's made racist comments. Her demonstration shows that she is okay with over-policing of minorities. She's okay with that. And that's not okay. I tell her, I tell anybody, we're not looking for extra attention. We're not.
Right.
Treat me like a normal human being. That's all I ask.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ask. If I get pulled over by a cop for speeding, odds are I'm going to get a ticket. And that might sound normal on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But I talk to my counterparts and say, I never got a ticket. You ever been pulled over? Oh, yeah, I was pulled over once or twice. Not a lot, once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't get a ticket. Why? Because the officer used discretion and chose not to give it to you.
Right.
In my case, an officer will use no discretion and just stick to giving me a ticket. Now, I won't sit here and say I've never been pulled over and not gotten a ticket. But I've been absolutely amazed when this happened. And I will speak on it. The last ticket I got, I told the police officer, he was walking, I said, hey, hold on, I want to share something with you. I said, I want to thank you for a safe, peaceful interaction. I just want to share that with you because I am thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people get pulled out of cars for traffic violation while they're following the commands and be killed. I don't want to be that person for somebody who thinks it's okay just to be abusive because they have a badge.
So do you think at some point before you got involved that the NAACP had lost sight of that, of those issues, that there were things that was going on that, because I know that you said you don't want to be part of an organization, you don't want to be part of a team, you just complain about the direction it's going, right? either leave or do something, but you can't stay there and just complain.
So I don't want to put a bad mark on the.
And I don't mean it that way at all.
I know you don't. I'm
Yeah.
saying, I don't want to put a bad mark on it. I'm just saying that as a member, I felt we could be doing much better.
Fair enough.
And so that was my complaint. We could be doing much better. And in order to do much better, I felt the need to become president. And even now it's funny because the current president, I've been hoping and praying that, he's my first vice president, a good friend of mine, a fraternity brother of mine.
Yeah.
He was my vice president when I was a president of the fraternity, but he had been a president there before. And now, him being my first vice president, I had every hope that he would step up into the president's role because I know he is the person that could take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So, because again, for me, I believe that building the branch up to a new level was what I was trying. That was my objective.
Yeah.
And then part of my objective was to have somebody in place that could take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And James McCurtis Jr. is that the person I think can do that.
Yeah. So I think just to clarify then, it wasn't that they were doing something wrong. It's just you could see that there's so much more that could be done.
Yes.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. I really wanted to clarify that for anyone listening. So we've talked quite a bit. I know that you're on a schedule. This has been fast. I think I could sit here and probably talk to you for another couple hours. But
sure. We'll do a part 2.
Yeah, we should. This wouldn't be the first time. But before you go, I really just have one more question I'd like to ask you. And that is, for someone listening to this story 100 years from now, what message would you like to leave for them?
All right. So, and we're talking about veterans, right?
Veterans, or just in general, like what advice would you have for people, who are listening to your story about your life, how you've lived your life, the things that you've done?
Yeah.
What message should they take away from all of that?
So thank you for that. So for me, part of my giving back, part of my service, I mentored a lot of young men. In fact, in Philadelphia, I started an organization. So I went to the Million Man March, got a bunch of people together in the plant, took a bunch of men down the Million Man March. We came back excited about what can we do for our community based on what we saw at the Million Man March. What can we do for our community? Came back and I came up with the idea, let's start a mentoring program for young men focused on the kids and grandkids of the people who work in the plant. So people who we would know, first draw would, focus was on them. And so with my affinity for mentoring young men, because I have boys, I want to say that we always have to encourage our youth to continue growing. One of the things that we make the mistake of is we make the mistake of always thinking college only. We make the mistake of thinking that your kid needs to leave high school and go to college. I ask that people take a breath and realize there are other paths beyond college. The military is one. Trades are another. Right? There are plumbers, electricians that make way more money, right, than a person who has a master's degree. They own their own business at some point, right? Because that's a normal matriculation. They own their own business. And they might own their own business and branch out and hire all these apprentices, and now they can expand and do more. And all they do is build their own wealth. So I encourage people to keep in mind that as you raise our younger generation, be open to other alternatives. And I get it. When I joined the military, it was my choice. It was at the tail end of a war, so it looked good for anybody else, right? Because there's no conflict.
Right.
So you're not worried about your child being deployed forward. But I always was under the impression that that's always an option, right?
Yeah.
It's always an option because they happen on a dime.
It's always sitting there.
Yeah. And so encourage, work with our youth, encourage them to grow, whatever path that is. It could be law enforcement, right? And I don't want to take away from law enforcement either. It's not a profession, and I'm not against law enforcement. Right. I'm not against it, but I'm saying law enforcement is another obvious option that young people can go into.
Mm-hmm.
I know coming out of the military, they going to these job fairs. They're like, "Hey, you want to be a corrections officer? You want to work in a prison?"
Right.
No,
Absolutely not. But for some people, that's what they want to do.
for some people it is, and
Yeah.
I mean, I've got good friends that had spectacular careers there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To each his own.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm rushing to a meeting to be with the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for taking time out of your busy day, Harold. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Absolutely enjoyed this, man.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast and for helping us honor the service and sacrifice of our nation's veterans. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with others so more people can hear these important stories. To learn more about our mission, watch additional veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Reads Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m.